Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Real quick, if you're watching these videos, if you like the consistency, if you have topics that you maybe want me to cover or want my opinion on from a faith perspective, please subscribe to the channel and leave it in the comment section below. I really appreciate it. But let's get into it. So let me ask you a question, and I want to ask, I want to get your guys' perspective on this, and I want kind of you to get thinking. If I said, hey, I don't believe the moon landing happened, and here's why. The Van Allen asteroid belt, from what I understand, can't allow for a craft to come up. We were in a Cold War at the time, so that gives plenty of reason for America to fake this and bankrupt the Russians. Nobody else has gone back to the moon. We haven't gone back to the moon. Yada, yada, yada. And I went on and went on and went on. Is that evidence or is that speculation? Now, in my opinion, that is what is called speculation. That would not be admissible in court. You could not bring that to a judge or a jury as evidence because it's speculation. There's no bank records. There's no written testimony. There's no eyewitness testimony to that. That is my opinion based on certain things that I have heard. And when I look at the Candace Owens situation, when I look at the Erica Kirk situation, what I hear from the Candace Owens side is all speculation and a lot of lying. She's lied about, just off the top of my head, I've stopped keeping track, stopped looking into it probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, but she lied about the Egyptian planes. She had a guy on that said that Erica was at a military base. She lied about that. The day Charlie was killed or whatever, she lied about that. What else did she lie about? I'll think of some more things, but there's a bunch of things. The bees, she's acting like the bee cult or whatever. Everything comes back to Israel. She's acted like her dream of Charlie is somehow evidence that he was betrayed. She said that certain meetings happened a certain way. The one with, I think, Bill Ackman and 4 or 5 people, including Seth Dillon, Bill Ackman himself, and maybe another content creator. I can't remember who else was in, maybe Allie Beth Stuckey. I can't remember. I don't remember who was in the room, but all came out and said that that's not what happened. So you've got one person getting second or third hand information, and then 4 or 5 people that are in the room saying that that's not what happened. Charlie's changing his stance on Israel. And again, when I read the text messages, it seems like Charlie was frustrated. Again, all this to say that there is speculation and there's evidence. And Candace, I was talking about this with my one of my friends the other day, that basically every party needs a platform. So I'll give you an example. I heard the other day that there are certain issues that political parties do not want to solve because then they have no platform. The border could be considered one of those. Healthcare could be considered one of those. And I'll give you an example of what happened on the left that has caused them to kind of repurpose. So gay marriage, huge issue for the left, huge push for their definition of civil rights, right? Well, gay marriage gets legalized, and now what do? You got to go to the next thing, which is transgender, whatever it's called, ideology. And I think that is what you're seeing with Candace Owens. Is it doesn't just, it seems like an episode of Bigfoot or Ghost Hunters, where it's like, tune in next week to see what happens. And I just think from a Christian standpoint, you've got this other thing that's happening right now in the Christian world, and if you guys are paying attention, is the Mike Winger stuff. And Mike Winger is not the type of person that likes to do those things. He's not the type of person that likes to call people out. But he saw a real issue in the charismatic church, which I'm a part of, and I've seen issues too. and he's addressing it. And he's bringing in witness testimony. He's bringing in written testimony. He's making 6, 7, 8-hour videos. Maybe not 8-hour videos, but certain types of videos at a certain length, 4 or 5 hours, going through all the evidence and doing it with a lot of grace in a way that I would say is very biblical and very honorable. What I see Candace Owens doing is, and there's plenty of videos that you can watch of the compilation of her lies, and there's no redaction and there's no apology, but she wants everybody else to apologize for their lies. Now again, this isn't an in-depth, she's done 100 episodes on Charlie. She has more episodes in the last 3 months than I have in the last 6 years probably on my channel. And I would just say that her reliability as a credible source is not good. I think as a Christian, she seems to be getting mad at every Christian that has called her out from a biblical framework. When Frank Turek calls her out, when Allie Beth Stuckey calls her out, when the people in Charlie's life that are Christians call her out, she seems to be very adverse to that. And there's actually good scripture that lines up with what this is. Even in Proverbs 12:15 says, "A fool's way is right in his own eyes, but whoever listens to counsel is wise." And I stopped tuning into Candace probably about 3 years ago. My wife liked her, and I just brought up one simple thing. I said, have you ever seen Candace disagree with somebody and it be cordial or civil? And the answer is no. And we both tuned her out at that point, because every conversation she has, whether you're agreeing with her or disagreeing with her, is so contentious. She cannot be disagreed with. And I saw that with her before this Charlie Kirk stuff, before what I think is like a serious mental breakdown, is that she can't converse with anybody peacefully. Even the Chris Cuomo interview where Patrick Bet-David had them both on, she's just like so mean and vile to Chris. And Chris is a really nice guy. Like, you don't have to be mean to the guy. You can disagree with him. You can say, hey, I think this is a stupid point, but you don't have to be mean. Every conversation I've ever seen her have with somebody that had the slightest bit of disagreement has been contentious. If you go on top 5 worst Joe Rogan interviews of all time, and I would say Joe Rogan is a very calm, easygoing person. And she's like number 1, her and Steven Crowder. And they both kind of have, similar issues. But I would say that as a Christian, there is a lack of godly authority in her platform. Now, I don't know if she actually believes these things. I don't know if she's playing a character. I believe that she truly does believe what she's selling. Kind of like a Bigfoot hunter. Maybe they really do believe that next episode they're going to find Bigfoot. But there's been no evidence. There's been no paper trail. A lot of the claims that she has made have been debunked. The Egyptian plains thing was literally to her lawyer's office. And she just continues to push these things. And it's like, hey, you've lost credibility. 100% lost credibility. Like the boy who cried wolf. Anything you say now will be dismissed. And even if it's true. And I think as Christians and as people of faith, we need to be a little bit more wise to that. We need to not be sheeps to just any voice. We need to look at the stance and the evidence that's presented. This is why the Bible is so important, because the New Testament is filled with, hey, go look into this. Like, don't just take our word for it. There's 500 people that saw this guy raised from the dead. Like, go look into this. Even when people were healed, like, who was healed? I don't know, but he goes into the temple and he's like, hey, whether he's a prophet, I don't know. Like, basically, like, go ask, or I'm sorry, the parents of the guy, like, we don't know. Like, he's a man, go ask him. Like, and they had already interviewed him. The Sadducees or the Pharisees had already interviewed the guy that Jesus healed. So there's tons of times in the Bible where it's like, hey, go validate it. There's no hiding what has happened. Nobody has said like, no, like, you got to believe this in the Bible. Now, Christians do that, but the Bible doesn't do that. And I think that's what we need to do as believers. I think that just as people in general, when you see claims, you have to assess the claims. And you can't just bring an accusation, because I could do the same thing. I could say, hey, it seems like Candace Owens had the most to benefit. I think Candace Owens has benefited the most from Charlie Kirk's death. I truly believe that, actually, though. That I'm not saying that she had anything to do with Charlie Kirk's death, but I'm saying like she has clearly had the most to benefit based on where her platform is now and what the amount of money that she's probably made and the sponsorships and the advertising that she's getting. It seems to me like she had a lot to benefit from that, a lot more than Erica. And everybody's talking and attacking Erica's her demeanor. And I would just challenge you, if you're questioning or talking, like, yes, there are some things that like don't make sense. The hug with JD Vance and, you know, some of the ways that she's interacting. But I would just challenge you, one, if your husband, if you've never been in that situation, then you can't speak to it. I just, period, end of story. If you've never been in that situation, you cannot speak to somebody's headspace in that situation. Or if you've never counseled people in that, then you can't speak to it. Period, end of story. Like that, to me, there's just no possible scenario that you could understand what that person is going through. And from an attacking standpoint, I mean, we'd say this all the time, like in grief, sometimes the best thing to do is just sit with somebody and listen, because you don't know what the right thing to say is. And sometimes that presence is better than trying to talk and assert yourself as an authority over that. And two, I would say, we have never seen anybody in the history of the United States, I would say in the history of the world. I mean, who would be the closest? Mrs. Kennedy or Mrs. Martin Luther King's widow that have experienced an assassination at this level? And I would say the big difference between those two is, did they have to go and be the front of a major organization right after? No. So we've never seen anything like the Erica Kirk situation. So when we make an assumption of how she should act as a widow who just has probably witnessed her husband's death, because I would imagine it'd be very hard, you know, not to get that, or not to see that. And I'm sure that somebody's texted it to her, or, you know, as a joke, or sent it to her, or, you know, rickrolled it to her, or whatever. But we've never seen somebody have to go and be front face. If Donald Trump, God forbid, would have gotten hit by that bullet, Melania Trump would not be having to do what, the movement would have been over, and Melania Trump would not be having to do what Erica Kirk is doing. She wouldn't. She just wouldn't. And there's no point in history where we can point to where the spouse of somebody. Well, one, we've only had, you know, video history for probably the last 10, 20 years to where that would even be a possibility. Maybe 30 or 40, but with social media, probably the last 10 or 15. So I think that's just food for thought, that we don't have any, like, Erica Kirk is the benchmark, and God forbid this happened to somebody else, but that she would be the standard by which we would have to compare that somebody else to moving forward if this were to ever happen again, because we don't have another case study on how a widow is supposed to act in the public eye after their husband has been publicly assassinated. That's just not something that we've ever had to deal with and see and witness. And everybody's judging how she's acting, or like, oh, she lied about her boyfriend. It's like, man, freaking, I would lie about my ex-girlfriend too. Like, I don't understand. Like, who cares? Like, it's all this speculation. A lot of it is untrue. Let's wait for what we see in the court case. It, to me, I feel like a sensible, you know, objective person, it doesn't seem like there's any other, like, plot going on yet. Like, maybe, you know, somebody paid this guy, but, like, it seems like he was the killer. It doesn't seem like, you know, Tyler Robinson. It doesn't seem like Erica has anything to do with it. It definitely doesn't seem like Israel has anything to do with it, I don't think. But again, speculation isn't evidence. Now, do I trust the government to get it right? No. Do I trust Kash Patel as much after everything that's happened with the Epstein files? No. But it's the Utah State Police that are it's either the Utah State or the local police in that district, so the city that UVU is in, that are conducting the investigation. And I think that's good. I think local investigation is good, and then, you know, maybe need some national oversight. But I think we need to see what happens. I think we need to wait, and I think we need to tune out some of these speculative voices. You know, I'll give you another example. Alex Jones. I like some of the stuff Alex says, but man, that guy, if you listen to Alex Jones all day, every day, man, you're going to think the world is ending every second of every day. Everybody's a child molester or a pedophile, and that every Democrat is, a part of the pizza thing. So it is a tough pill to swallow, but I do think that there is something seriously wrong with Candace Owens. I think that she has completely lost her mind on this, and I do think that we need to frame our life and our worldview in Scripture, not in speculation, and not in one voice, because if we cling to one side or the other, or one person or another, we're going to be led astray. And that's why it's so important that when Jesus says, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. So I'm the way. Like, follow me. I am the truth. Listen to me. I am the life. Believe in me. Like, life is through me. Nobody else can make those claims. And I feel like when we see some of these people, some of these pundits, they're making claims very similar, and they are not leading to life.